Hey, moron! Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good hump day morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. I am excited as can be because the Cowboys are in mini camp right now. And today and tomorrow is it. That's it. Then there's the break. The only thing that will be happening is possibly signing some more players before training camp, hopefully getting Micah Parsons' deal done. We can only hope that that happens. And, you know, the team, knock on wood, everybody's healthy. Everybody is there. And not every team can say that everybody's got 100% participation. And this is key because that's not always the case, because usually when the Cowboys are dealing with contract situations, we got people holding in, holding out, and everything else. And we got the Micah Parsons, the 800-pound elephant. I was going to say gorilla, but I don't want to get canceled. The 800-pound gorilla in the living room, or the elephant in the room, which is his contract and getting done. There's players around the NFL that are pissed, like Terry McLaurin, who looks at and says, you know, they brought in Laramie Tunsil, they're going to pay that guy. They brought in Deebo Samuels, they're going to pay that guy. I've been here, mother humpers. You ain't paid me. You got guys like Trey Hendrickson, who doesn't have a podcast, who's doing all kinds of things for his team and mostly getting to the quarterback, and they ain't taking care of him. Now, here's where I love this. I love watching Brian Schottenheimer. I'm going to be real with you. I got a man crush on him. I love his attitude. I love the Shotty. I'm drinking a Shotty right now before I go to sleep. When you watch Shotty at his press conferences, he's jovial. He's excited. He doesn't look like a man under the gun. Mike McCarthy, when you watch Mike McCarthy, you looked at a guy who looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. Now, it's all shits and giggles right now because, you know, there's no pressure of winning games. We'll see when you lose some games, you know, and have some adversity how it is. But right now, you look at Brian Schottenheimer like a guy who's hanging out at a bachelor party at the strip club. He's excited. He's happy. Seriously. And when you go to the press conference here, you listen to him talk about how important it is to have Micah Parsons here. That Micah Parsons being here is huge. Let's go to the tape of Brian Schottenheimer.
Is the lighting right? Usually we got to make sure we got the lighting right. Huh?
Got the lighting right?
Beautiful. Yeah, right. I look good. I did my hair. No visor yet.
No visor.
It's not sunny out.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Is Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs in attendance today?
Why did I think that would be the first question?
I don't know.
Yes, they are. It's great to see them both.
Will Mr. Parsons be working out today?
He'll be out on the field doing some stuff, yep. It's actually great. Trayvon got here early. It's great to see him. He's one of the first guys I saw, and he got his rehab stuff in with Britt, so both guys were excited to be here.
What are the medical people telling you about Diggs and where he is physically?
Doing good. Same thing. Came in for a recheck and doing good, and we'll figure out when we get to training camp. There's still a big window of time between now and when we get out there, but he's hitting the markers he needs to hit.
A number of guys in Parsons' situation are not at minicamp. You know, TJ Watt, Henderson, guys who work on country now. Why is it important for him to be here? What does that say about, you know, obviously he wasn't here for some of the OTAs, but why is it important to you and suddenly you're excited that he's here?
Yeah. Well, number one, I mean, to have everybody here, perfect attendance is a good thing. Mm-hmm. I think it just shows you that he's serious about what we've talked about, which is developing that leadership mentality, the mindset to be a guy that we can count on, and not just the fourth quarter when he's got to, make a big sack or get pressure on the quarterback, but just in general throughout the course of a week. And it's a long season. We all know that. And my conversations with Micah have been great, and really all the guys. But he's doing the things he's supposed to do in terms of he's training, he's prepping, he's been in, he's been out. And nobody's more excited than Micah about what we're building here, and he's excited to be back in the building doing it.
So he gave you a phone call to tell you good night. What did you think about that?
Well, I was really kind of pissed off at my kids, to be honest with you. I called my son Sutton. I said, "Buddy, you got to look out for Dad. I don't look at these. I don't know these things." But I just thought he missed me, and I literally was like, "That's cool, man." Guy reached out to check in, see what's going on. Then I was like, "Damn." Fell for it. So I got on my kids, my daughter, and I was like, "Hi, you guys, I don't do much of that social media stuff." So, but he got me pretty good.
Hi, Brian Todorf with ESPN. The business of football, how do you deal with that as a head coach, like with the players that are in contract situations?
I don't change. I mean, I'm who I am. I'm authentic. I think you guys know that or are learning that about me. The business has changed a lot from when I got in this crazy business. I grew up around it. Obviously, you guys know that. But, the business has changed a lot through just social media and contracts, both players and coaches alike. You can control what you can control. And, if a guy's here or not here, it doesn't mean I'm not going to connect with him and talk to him and spend time with him and get to know him. It's the new era of football. But I'm never going to change how I relate to our players, our coaches, ownership. I'm just going to be who I am. And when guys are here, that gets you excited. And I'm excited that we've got perfect attendance and guys are excited to be back in the building. We had a couple really good meetings this morning. And, I think, but the business is definitely very different than what I remember when I first got into the league.
And then we've asked you about Joe Milton, the backup quarterback. Do you want your backup quarterback to replicate Dak?
Here we go.
And do the same mannerisms, all that kind of stuff, or do you want have a different part of the game?
Insert joke.
Todd, that's a great question. I would say no. And again, the evolution of the game of football, right? Like I would have just said 15 years ago, if you would ask me that question, I would say absolutely. There's things like the cadence that you need the guys behind your starter to replicate because you want the cadence to sound the same. But to me, no. Joe is a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous young player. He's developing along with Dak. And
there it is.
Some of you guys caught that. Some of you guys are a little slow. I'll be honest.
Caught it the first time.
Yeah, I did. There's worse things to go viral for, I guess, like not saying good night, bro. But honestly, I would say this, so
relaxed.
One of those situations where we want Joe to be the best version of himself, and it's our job to have a system that's flexible enough. Does it help? Of course it helps. Because you really don't want to go into a game with, okay, well, this is the package for this player, this is the package for that player. And at this point, I have zero concerns about doing that with Joe and Dak and Will Grier or any of the guys. So, but I probably would have answered that question 10 or 15 years ago, probably different, and been like, yeah, probably. But with the game of football ever evolving, I don't think that's the case.
All right, I'll leave that there. So you can see Brian Schottenheimer. He's funny. He's lighthearted. And he's serious, though, I think, on the field. Now, we don't know. It seems like we're getting less and less of the media on the field. But the players truly are buying into him. The energy there is great. They're excited. And I feel like the cloud has been lifted, at least, from what happened last year. We all knew that Jerry Jones was pissed the way the season went, that Mike McCarthy, of course, I'm talking about the year before. After losing to Green Bay the way we did, we're going all in. But you knew that with nobody having a renewed contract, it had to affect the team. It had to. And I think that whole thing filtered from Jerry Jones on down. Now, let's be clear here. If I'm Brian Schottenheimer, who seems to have the player's ear and the respect, and I believe that they have the Joneses' ear, because when I look at this, let me give you an example. Could you imagine if the Cowboys, after getting rid of Amari Cooper, had went out and got a George Pickens? Let's say instead of Noah Brown being our number 2 leading wide receiver, you insert a George Pickens. And let's say he clears against Jacksonville and Dak throws the ball. I'm betting that George Pickens catches that pass and doesn't tip it up and ends up being a pick 6 where we lose the game. That's the difference of what they've been doing with Brian Schottenheimer versus what they did with Mike McCarthy. And if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I'm taking that goodwill, that newness, okay? This is like being a president the first 100 days. You're trying to implement everything that you can. And for Brian Schottenheimer, I go to the Joneses and say, hey, look, Jerry, I know I'm not the contract guy. You're going to do what you want to do. I think we can deliver what we've been looking for so long. But I need you to get Micah Parsons done. And I need it done not solely because I want Micah Parsons here to be the best player he can be. What you have to understand is Micah Parsons being here and practicing every day, seeing Micah Parsons after practice out there running extra sprints with Mozzie Smith is important. His leadership role is important to be here fully. And beyond that, for a guy like Tyler Guyton to have to go every day in practice against Micah Parsons will make him a better player. So it's beyond just Micah Parsons, Jerry. It's beyond getting him whole. It's about getting the team whole. And that's what you have to understand, Jerry, that when you wait to get this thing done, you're not just hurting Micah. You're hurting all of us. And I can't do my job fully without your help. That's what I'm doing if I'm Brian Schottenheimer. That's what I got to do that. So at least for us Cowboys, we don't have some of the problems that other teams have. Right now, the Commanders with the left hand up, who are we, have a little bit of problem. And that's Terry McLaurin. He's not there at minicamp. Now, some people will say, it's only minicamp. It don't really matter. Okay, all right. I say it matters. I say it matters. We also have the tale of two tapes with Micah Parsons. So let's finish this off this morning with the holdouts.
Mandatory minicamp, and Terry McLaurin was not there. Here's Dan Quinn with more.
The good news is lots of rapport has been built. And so those are all the times and, hours and hours upon doing that. Hey, sometimes football and business, they intersect. And this is one of those times. Terry is a fantastic teammate and really puts in the work and spent a lot of time with him already this offseason. So Adam and their crew and Terry and his group, they'll let them work through that.
Yep.
Needed to get Dan Quinn a higher chair or tilt the camera down there a little bit. But Adam, what's going on with Terry McLaurin, though?
Well, Laura, we've seen a number of wide receivers be paid this offseason. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf amongst them. And Terry McLaurin is headed into the last year of his contract and is looking to be paid. He's scheduled to make almost $19 million this upcoming season. That is below market value for what top wide receivers in this league currently are making. And McLaurin doesn't want to wait till the end of that deal, not when he's performed the way he has, and Jaden Daniels has come to rely on him in the way he has. He's also a face of that organization, an example in the community. And the Commanders know they have to take care of McLaurin. They'd like to, but the two sides have not made much progress so far, resulting in McLaurin staying away from all offseason activities so far.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin is the type of guy that you want your son to model himself after. I mean, that's the type of player that we're talking about here. And Tim, on this show, we try not to overreact. Is this a big deal?
I do think it's a big deal, and I think a lot of it has to do with what Adam was just talking about, because when you just look at deals that have been done, Justin Jefferson's deal got done, and then you look at, Jamar Chase's deal got done, and the reality is, like, when we see CeeDee Lamb's numbers, they're going to be gigantic, and so the wide receiver numbers are huge, and Terry McLaurin's looking around saying, all right, well, like, I'm the number one guy here, and I think the cherry on top is a little bit what Adam also, reference, which is, most receivers, like they're come, with a little bit of drama or, diva to them, whatever it is. Terry McLaurin, has been perfect, in terms of, how he's responded to, adversity that he's faced early on in his career, the type of teammate he is. You referenced it. So, that matters too. That's part of what's hurting Trey Hendrickson's feelings as well. And I think a similar thing with Terry McLaurin. So, yeah, I think all of those factors, kind of coming in, kind of should at least raise your eyebrows to say, wait a second, we got one of the good guys that's unhappy.
Yeah. I think it's a great point you make about Hendrickson, and also why. Because these are not just football moves. These are culture moves. These are guys that are familiar, and they understand how to get other guys going and involved and ingratiate themselves. And you look at the offseason moves that the Washington Commanders make with bringing in Deebo Samuel. They got Laramie Tunsil as well. This is a team that was positioning to be in position again to win a NFC championship and try to get to a Super Bowl. I think this is a piece that they cannot do that without. I'm sure the Washington Commanders understand that as well. And I cannot imagine this new ownership still technically not getting this deal done with a guy that is a stalwart not only in your locker room, but in that community. And it would go a long ways with this fan base to show that these type of moves are going to be very simple and more about that fan base understanding that we are positioning ourselves to be relevant as we go further into the future. That's why I think it's important what Tim and Adam said about McLaurin beyond the football field.
Go, Adam.
And I think also, Laura, don't forget, they traded for and paid Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
They traded for Laramie Tunsil, and they plan to pay him. It's hard to pay all these people and not pay the guy that has been there the longest, that has suffered through the hard times, that has meant so much to that franchise. Again, I think both sides want to get it done. They just haven't been able to get it done just yet.
Cowboys also started minicamp today. A
Here we
healthy
go.
Dak Prescott on the field. New receiver George Pickens and Micah Parsons in attendance. Here's Brian Schottenheimer on the edge rusher's importance.
You want your best players excited about what you're doing. You want your best players buying in because they're your best players? No, because they're the ones that the young players look up to. It's a long season. We all know that, and my conversations with Micah have been great, and really all the guys, but he's doing the things he's supposed to do in terms of he's training, he's prepping, he's been in, he's been out, and nobody's more excited than Micah about what we're building here, and he's excited to be back in the building doing it.
Yeah, so as Micah said, he would be there, and he's there. Adam, is there any progress, though, on this deal?
Well, he's there today, and he said he's going to be there for training camp, and I think that gives both sides the idea that they can continue talking in good faith and trying to get something worked out. Now, they've been talking throughout the offseason, and you heard Jerry Jones at the league meeting in late March, early April, talk about the fact that he and Micah were hoping to do the deal. He didn't even know who the agent was. Well, the agent is a prominent agent, David Mulgeta, who also happens to represent George Pickens in the last year of his deal. So I would imagine at some point in time the Cowboys and Jerry Jones will be speaking quite a bit to David Mulgeta to get this deal done. I think everybody believes that at some point this offseason, Micah Parsons is going to become the new highest paid defensive player in NFL history.
Yeah, Jerry's going to know who David Mulgeta is. I think he already does, but I love it. I forgot about that, so I'm glad you referenced it. Marcus, that's the defensive side with Micah Parsons. But one thing I just said, and it's pretty cool actually to see the video of a healthy Dak Prescott back on the field. How much better do you think this offense will be?
I think they'll be tremendously better. Obviously, they implement a new system in the way that they're going to do things, but I've been crying, Boogie, and you've been a part of it because we've been on every damn show together about filling in this talent, especially at the number 2 wide receiver position. And now you have the potential to have something like a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins in Cincinnati. This is all, let's make no mistake about it. This is all predicated on the fact that hopefully George Pickens is continuing to mature. He understands that he has a number one wide receiver that got a $136 million contract. So those opportunities may not be as much as he wants, but he can get a large amount of production and have the season that he wants and position himself to make money, which is now why I put it on Dak Prescott. What do we hear every year about Dak Prescott? Great leader, understands how to lead a team, gets everybody involved. He's a guy that these people want to follow. He's the face of the franchise.
Yep.
Well, you up, Dak Prescott.
You
Not
up.
only in
You
your
up.
leadership,
You
but
up.
now you have guys on both sides of the field at the wide receiver position that can make plays. So there will be no excuses as long as your offensive line protects you.
As long as your offensive line protects you. There you go. I agree. As long as your offensive line protects you and you stay healthy and you get a semblance of a running game, there's no excuses there. There's no excuses. We still have some issues. We still have to figure out cornerback, okay? Whether Savon Ravel will save us, whether Elam will be able to step up and be able to help us, or if we got to bring in a Stephon Gilmore. I still want more meat on the defensive line. I just do. So we'll see where we go. As always, I appreciate you guys, but you know, I got to get out of here, man. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. And so we will see you guys real soon.
I can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you want it on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.